Welcome to Marketplace with Charles, where dreams are turned into reality. Marketplace is brought to you by Art of Skincare, the company that brings out the beauty in you, as well as Gwisa Lodge, from the deep heart of Mabalingwe Nature Reserve. I am Charles Ngobeni. On Marketplace, we empower and equip you with tools that you need to achieve your entrepreneurial dreams. Each week, we bring you insights from experts in different fields of business, from men and women of faith. On today's program, we meet Mr. Tshilidzi Radali, a life coach and a neuro-linguistic programming, abbreviated NLP. He's a great practitioner on that field. Human development entails cognitive language, social and emotional, moral and spiritual, physical, as well as creative and imagination. A person developing in one of these areas but not in the other can be detrimental to the society. For example, a man who is a genius academic issues but lacking in social and moral issues can be very dangerous. A man with loads of cash but having little or no spiritual development is equally dangerous to the society. Imagine the mess that it can cause. My guest today will focus on the dangers of mental and emotional imbalances with special emphasis on GBV, gender-based violence. And I hope when we talk about the gender-based violence, we are not specifically talking about GBV from male to female, but it could also be a gender-based violence from females to males, because some of us are also being clapped. So GBV is both ways when we look at it. Well, Mr. Tshilidzi Radali, welcome to Marketplace with Charles.
Thank you so much for having me, Charles, and also greetings to your viewers.
You know, it's my pleasure to have you in here. We had a show before.
That's correct, last year.
And by popular demand, you are back.
Yeah.
You taught me something about neuro-linguistic practitioner. That's what you're, NLP?
That's correct.
Do you want to say it one more time? What is that?
Not a problem, Charles. Neuro-linguistic programming, what it means basically is that neuro, it's basically your senses.
Yes.
The 5 senses that a human being has, which what I said even the last time, by popular belief is that women on the side has got 6 senses, which is still to be proven. But through these senses, we receive information as human beings. Your sense of hearing, your sense of touch, your sense of smell, so you receive this information, and then when it goes to the linguistic part, this is where now you interpret the meaning that you attach to the information that you have received. That is the linguistic part, because it also now pushes you to behave in a specific manner, which is the programming part. So neuro-linguistic is that we receive information through our senses, we interpret them based on either our experiences, past experiences, or based on our belief. It might be religious, it might be based on our knowledge, based on what we have learned. Then it pushes us to behave in a specific manner. So if you want to change a specific behavior, you go back and rephrase the meaning that a person has attached to it. So that's basically neuro-linguistic programming.
Well, Tshilidzi, in the last episode, we spoke about the SWOT analysis.
Yes.
Which is your strength, your weakness, your opportunities, and your threat.
That's correct.
As a neuro-linguistic practitioner, what do you have to say about that?
I remember on the previous episode, I indicated that the SWOT analysis, as it is commonly known, mainly in the corporate environment.
Yes.
However, in the NLP or life coaching, we have just tweaked that one a bit. Instead of calling it a SWOT analysis, we call it the SDOC tool. So we have just taken away the W that represents the weaknesses, because life coaching in itself, it's basically outcome orientated. We are focusing on the outcome, which is positiveness. So when we take out the weakness, the reason there of being that when you say to someone, this is my weakness, they don't feel the need to do something about it. They go into a state of acceptance to say, this is my weakness, it's my sickness, it comes from my family, we are born like this. And then we replace it with the development areas, which is the D, to say, when you look at it to say there is an opportunity to develop out of this, then your system say to you, what is it that can be done to overcome this? And then when you go now to the T, which is the threats, we also focus on the fact that if you say to someone, you can take this path, but there's a threat, naturally the person will activate their defense mode to say, I'd rather not go there because there's a threat. Chances are I might not get to where I want to go, or I might get injured. So to do away with the threats, we now put in the challenge to say, let it rather be a challenge. A challenge is something that says to you, I'm here. I'm stopping you from getting where you want to go. What are you going to do about me? If it's a wall, are you going to climb me? Are you going to crush me down? Are you going to go around me? So that is the approach we have from life coaching, to say, instead of a short analysis, which still works better in the corporate, but from a life coach point of view, we call it the SDOC tool.
Then what in your book is gender-based violence?
Now gender-based violence, Charles, my own definition, I would say, I think from different discussions, is to say, yes, it's a violation of someone's rights, I would say.
Yeah.
Not focusing only on the gender. So it can either be a gender-based, looking at from a male to a female point of view, and also the opposite, from the female to the male point of view, and of which in our country, it's only right to say that most focus, it's only when it's from the male to the female point of view. Mm-hmm. That's when people now understand the element of gender-based violence. So it's basically violence. It can be physical, it can be spiritual, it can be emotional, and these are some of the things that are not seen, except the physical violence one. But there is an emotional violence that normally happens and that people don't focus on, where somebody gets violated because of their gender. Either they are male or female. So that's my definition of gender-based violence.
Then, in that case, why do you feel it's necessary for me and you to disguise GBV in this platform?
No, it's true, Charles, and I believe it's a question that a lot of people will want to understand, but why are we discussing gender-based violence? But the issue here is that as a man or as a woman, when certain things are not in place in your life, certain areas, especially the issue of gender-based violence, like we're saying, they can easily reflect in your business. Yeah. You cannot separate yourself, as much as you might try, but you cannot separate yourself from the business person that you are. Meaning, if you easily snap to your wife, basically somehow this will it will pop out one day when you're in a meeting, in a business meeting, because you are not in a space where you are able to deal with your emotions. Mm-hmm. Imagine if now you are doing a business deal with a female counterpart, and at home, this is the element where you force your gender, which is being a male, and oppressing the female. So whenever you go, even in your business dealings, these will pop out. You will not be a person who deals well with any person who's a female. So it's important that we find that alignment, we find that balance as human beings, to understand that who we are in our personal space can easily reflect in any other space of our life, which includes business as well.
As a neuro-linguistic practitioner, if you look at me now, will you say it is possible for one, especially me, to be a success in all spheres of life?
And this is the unfortunate approach that people would have. So I would say it's possible for one to be successful in all areas. But the bottom line here is that one succeeds in that area of life where they put much focus on. Meaning, if you put much focus on business, you'll definitely be successful. But if you now go and neglect the other areas of your life, they are not going to be successful. So it's easy for people to look at you from a business point of view and say, Charles is successful. But tomorrow, we might be surprised to hear that there is an element of violence in Charles on a personal space. And what does that say to me? It says to me and you, gender-based violence it respects no one, irregardless of how successful you are in business. It can happen to you. And, it's funny that people would be surprised to hear that a so great person that they know and they respect, it's now being said to be violating someone gender-based. So it's very much important that people understand this element, that you can be successful in all spheres of your life, provided that you put focus on it. The moment you neglect it, there won't be any success. And I think it goes back also to how we define success.
Yes.
Because if now you're saying a person of Mandela's caliber, why certain people still believe today, and I also believe that he was great, but when you now look at him in totality, as a human being, like what you just gave as an example to say, marriage-wise, it shows that there were issues that were happening that made him not to succeed in that space. So it's basically the approach and where we choose to put our focus in. If we're focusing on the political aspect of him, he was a hero. Look now at the marital aspect of his life. One would easily say he was struggling. So it's easy for one to succeed in a specific area that can cover up the entire area of your life, but having those small areas that are not doing well and people not focusing on them, and even yourself not focusing on them, only to find that when this thing has hit its climax, that's when now you pop as a person.
But then how does one self-diagnose the imbalances?
What you're saying, Charles, is I once shared, I think, on social media platform the other day to say, especially for us as men, because I would say this, that when it comes to mental imbalances and emotional imbalances, we as men, and from a cultural point of view, how we were raised up, most of us, we are made to believe that it's not okay for a man to express some of the feelings, some of the emotions. So that in itself, it's a barrier, I would say. That is a barrier that can easily put one in a position whereby, you'll not even realize that, I am in a point where if I continue like this, chances are I will end up being, a perpetrator where I am being the one who is, violating other people, gender-based. So, for example, as a man, the moment you start realizing that, you find it hard to acknowledge, to accept that a woman can easily earn more than you. Already, if you feel uncomfortable with such, that is a sign to show that, if I don't get this addressed, I will end up violating. Even if it's not physically so. But I have sat with a lot of men, like you said, who would not want to reveal such information. But as self-diagnostic, it's when you are able to say to yourself, if I'm not feeling comfortable about my wife being the one who earns more than I do, that is in itself, it's a sign that shows that we're heading for disaster. If I cannot accept, or my wife cannot accept the fact that I'm able to do other house chores that are, labeled to be feminine, and I'm the one who's doing them, and she's not comfortable with that, to her, that should be a sign that says, we have got a problem, we are heading for a problem. So issues of depression as well, that would be a sign. You can easily diagnose when you find yourself feeling depressed about your environment, about certain people. That is also a way of you diagnosing yourself. When you feel anxious for no reason, we say in life coaching, when you feel anxious, it's good, but to a certain level. The moment you start feeling anxious and you even ask yourself, you can't find or pinpoint why you're being anxious, that's a sign. Insomnia, lack of sleep, you are just up the whole night, you don't even know why. Those could be your signs to show that, I feel I am in a point where mentally or emotionally there is imbalance.
At this juncture, I've got no choice but to pause.
Okay.
I need to go and do a self-introspection. Well, viewers out there, we'll be back shortly.
Join Marketplace with Charles on an 11-day tour of the Holy Land. Take the route Israel traveled to the Promised Land. Cross over the Red Sea and float on the Dead Seas, the lowest point on earth with amazing healing properties. Experience the vibe of Jericho and cruise on the Sea of Galilee to Capernaum, the hometown of Jesus. Visit the pools of Bethesda, Nazareth, Bethlehem, and many more. Walk where Jesus walked and see the Bible come alive. If beautiful memories and an enriched spirit is what you are looking for, then join us in taking Jesus to the marketplace. For more information, call us on +27 72 123 0078 or email israel@artofskincare.co.za.
Welcome to Marketplace with Charles. I am still sitting here with the great Tshilidzi, the neuro-linguistic practitioner. Tshilidzi, let me assure you, the whole Marketplace community there, they applaud you.
Thank you.
Let's go to the topic of today, the gender-based violence, which we are discussing. How does one pinpoint the faults in their own culture?
A very tricky question, especially when one has to answer it.
Yeah.
These are questions that most people want to avoid answering. But the issue here being that already just to say from your culture, how do you pinpoint, things that are not right? Already as a human being, I feel like there's an element where I have to protect my culture. Now, from a life coach point of view, and I will also share from a biblical point of view. Now, from a life coach point of view, there is a saying, we do not take everything as it is. You have to challenge everything for the truth. Meaning, when things are given to you, you need to ask yourself questions. How true is this thing? For example, there are basic things that are said, to say the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. But one never gets to a point where they ask themselves, but how dark should this berry be for it to be sweet? Because the statement just says the darker the berry. But my definition of dark and your definition of dark already in itself, that differs. Mm-hmm. So it means also your definition of sweet will also differ from my definition of sweet. Yeah. So the element here that I'm trying to bring is that one will only be able to pinpoint things that are not right in their culture when they start questioning certain things. For me, as an individual, there are certain things in my culture that are there, but I started questioning them only to realize that some of them were only put as measures to try and protect me from certain things. But as I grow up and I start questioning them, I realize, but this doesn't hold water. There's nothing of substance in this. But as I grew up, for me at that age, it made sense because it was put there to try and prevent me from certain harm or certain dangers. So one will only pinpoint when they start questioning. And from a Christian point of view, I would say the way you do things, if it starts offending the next person, you would want to ask yourself a question, but why is this thing harming the next person? Is it worth doing? And I always say there are certain things that were put in place in those eras when our fathers and our mothers were still alive. They were okay, they were applicable then. But right now, it's not applicable. A typical example, we were made to believe in our culture that as men, we are the only one who are allowed to work, while women, they stay at home and take care of their home, But today, is that still relevant? No. If I'm only the only one who wakes up and go to work, what will happen to me? Will I have time to still have family? But then it was practical because even also of the laws of the country. So there was nothing wrong that one would pinpoint then as a cultural, issue that maybe makes them to behave in a specific way. But right now, we stand a better chance to say, it's not okay for me to come back home every day early because of the kind of job that I do and still wait for my wife who knocks off at 5 and expect her to be the one who must come and cook. As a person, I should be able to realize that something is not right there because the culture says cooking is a woman's duty. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are things that we need to start looking at, and those are things that help us to pinpoint that then culturally something is not right. If I start oppressing the other human being, not looking at the fact of their gender, the fact that she's a human being, she's coming home, I can see the exhaustion. But when she walks in, even before greeting me, I am saying, what do you think I must eat in this house if you're coming home this time? But forgetting the fact that she is doing the job that she does so that financially me and her, we can meet each other halfway. We can reach that goal that we want to achieve as a team. So those are elements that can help you when you are able to question certain things. Don't just take things at face value because they are said by elders. But again, not forgetting the element of respect. Because even when you question those things, there should be a level of respect. Don't ask them, being naive and say, because I'm a young person, why must I do these things? There has to be a level. If I come to you now and ask you, but Charles, tell me why certain things were done this way, you will definitely give me the answer in that calm environment. But if it's a matter where you tell me to do something and then I talk back, number one, as a young person, and say, no, I won't do it. Why I have to do it? That in itself, it's not a proper way of questioning. Because instead of you answering me, you're going to administer, either the 5 or the 10-fold ministry, and make sure that I'm in line.
But then how will you relate that to business?
In business as well, I believe culturally there are ways of doing things in a specific industry. And again, it goes back to the fact that one must question, why were things done this way in this area of business? Is it still relevant today? And then if you realize that it's not relevant, why do I have to do the old way of marketing, for example, in this era where there's technology? Because somebody said in this type of industry, this way of marketing, it's the best way. But today, it's not relevant. I mean, we are sitting here right now, we are talking of our country being in a lockdown. There are certain jobs that can be carried out. But imagine if someone is so stuck in their culture to say, because this is how things have been done and should be done, then because now I can't do them, I should just fold my arms. No, it's time now to switch into the digital world. It's time for us to switch into, technology and take advantage of it. So in the business world, this is the space where you are able to realize that certain things that are cultural, maybe they do not serve me right in business.
And what will you say is a solution to the problem of imbalance?
The solution is one, Charles. It's when number one, acknowledges that there is an imbalance, like I said earlier, emotionally, or it might be also spiritually. When there is an imbalance, you need to first acknowledge. And then the second thing, build yourself a support system. Support system can either be a family, it can be friends that you trust, it can be also people who are in the same space of business. I always say, people always ask me a question to say, but you are a life coach. When things are not going well your way, where do you go to? To whom do you run for help? And I tell them, it's either I will go to a life coach, because I am a life coach. A life coach also has a life coach, because it also helps to have someone who's looking at my issues from another angle. And also, when one has a strong sense of spirituality, and of which in this space, I would say when one is in tune with God, that will be an element that will assist you to win this battle. When your spirituality is at a level where it's supposed to be.
Is there anything that you would like to suggest to a man or woman who is struggling with GBV?
Yes, I would suggest, number one, if you are able to detect the signs, because these are not things that happens suddenly, it's a process. They build up. So the moment you start seeing those signs, be true to yourself and acknowledge that there's something wrong or something is going to be wrong, then take a bold step of seeking help. Professionally, so I would advise today to say, go to people who can help you with counseling. Go to people who can help you. Even us as life coaches, we do that. Make sure that you seek that kind of help. Even rehabilitation, where they will help you to revamp your mindset, how you look at things, how you interpret things, the meaning you have attached to things. Because like a typical example that I gave earlier to say, the fact that my wife earns more than I do, if I do not change that meaning and accept that this is because of the economy itself. The job that she does doesn't even require her muscular, capabilities. It just needs her mental capabilities. And because she's a human being like me, she can do that. So I need to accept that. But if I am in a position where I cannot accept it, then I need to know, I need to go and seek help. So it can either start from a friendship point of view, talk to someone about it. Don't harbor these feelings. Don't harbor these imbalances. Then if maybe it's in a level where you feel that talking to a friend won't help, go and seek professional help. Counseling, like I said, life coaches, go for rehab, and then also a sense of spirituality. When you've got a strong sense of spirituality. A few days ago, I was talking to a friend and we were interpreting a song, which is a hymn, What a Friend We Have in Jesus. The second verse of that song, it says, oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. And then the third verse, it says, why? Because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. And as a spiritual person, that will be your answer to say, but why do you seem overwhelmed by things? Maybe the question is, are you taking them to where they're supposed to go? Which is by taking them to God in prayer. So based on your faith.
If someone out there wants to take their issues to you, how do they get hold of Tshilidzi?
So Tshilidzi is one person who's very easy to connect with. On social platforms, you go to Facebook, you'll just type Tshilidzi Radali, you'll find me there. There's also a page there, Tshilidzi, the coach, Radali. It's only one, the coach there. Then you'll connect with me. And then on Instagram as well, it's coach_TC_Radali. Then I'm there. So that's how they can get in contact with me. And also my email address is tshilidzi@trthecoach.co.za.
Well, Tshilidzi, thank you for gracing our studios. Viewers out there, don't hesitate to contact him. This man is fully loaded with knowledge. We discuss a lot of issues off air, which can be of help to many businesses. Get hold of him. He will be there for you. That's what Marketplace is all about. And God bless you. See you next time.
Join Marketplace with Charles on an 11-day tour of the Holy Land. Take the route Israel traveled to the Promised Land. Cross over the Red Sea and float on the Dead Seas, the lowest point on earth with amazing healing properties. Experience the vibe of Jericho and cruise on the Sea of Galilee to Capernaum, the hometown of Jesus. Visit the pools of Bethesda, Nazareth, Bethlehem, and many more. Walk where Jesus walked and see the Bible come alive. If beautiful memories and an enriched spirit is what you are looking for, then join us in taking Jesus to the Marketplace. For more information, call us on +27 72 123 0078 or email israel@artofskincare.co.za.